Welcome back to the Local Legends podcast, thanks to the Inside Game and the Crown Inn Hotel in Kingston, SE, South Australia. Great supporters of local sport, those guys. Go in and see Tommy G if you're ever in Kingston. So many people around Whyalla and Adelaide might recognise Adrian Hart for one defining moment, an extraordinary goal from beyond the halfway line. While we revisit that remarkable achievement and explore the story behind it, this conversation extends far beyond a single highlight. Adrian reflects on his playing career, his time as a coach, and the broader lessons football has taught him about people, relationships, communication, and life. Because ultimately, sport is not solely about goals, victories, or trophies. It's about what the game reveals about character, the connections it fosters, and the values it instills long after the final whistle. This discussion centres on football, but it also offers insights into leadership, humility, self-awareness, and the broader impact sport can have on life. I enjoyed this conversation with Adrian Hart, and I hope you do too. Welcome back to the Local Legends podcast. I have with me this week a lifetime soccer player, Adrian Hart. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me, mate.
No problem. So you're, as I mentioned, lifelong soccer player. What about soccer is it that drags you in from an early age? Let's start there.
I was born in Whyalla. Scottish father, Welsh mother, so British family. Whyalla is a very British town. Steelworks, shipyards from back in the 60s and 70s. So having a British friend, it just seemed natural that I would play soccer. I was taken down to the local club at 5 years old, played, loved it, and actually just got hooked on the game immediately. And for all my life, really, it's been my game. But particularly as a child, even a teenager, it ruled my life. In the sense that, I'd be watching games, I'd be reading about it. Now, this is all pre-internet days as well, remember? So, you'd get your shoot magazines that would be, 3 months out of date from the UK, and you get your posters on the wall, all that nonsense. And, obviously you weren't getting Fox Sports like you are now, so you weren't able to watch it. I remember, you get to see the FA Cup final. But, no, I just loved the game, and it was all I ever played, really. I never got into Aussie rules. Everyone at school would play Aussie rules.
Yep. What was it about soccer initially that drew you in so much?
What was it?
Yeah, anything about the game itself, or is it the
Not 25, I think. I think it's because Dad played it, and I liked it, sort of thing. I think that's what you do at 5, don't you? It's what do your parents do? And I love going down to the local soccer club. Whyalla doesn't have school sports as like other places do. It's all club based. You play for a local club, and I used to love going down there. Dad would go down. He got involved in the club. So did Mum eventually. And I'd go down there, and other people's kids at the same age, and we'd kick a squash ball around the dance floor and make our own goals, and or Coke bottle top, depending on. And so us kids would run amok. Mum, Dad would be at the bar having a beer, get a bottle of Coke, bag of chips, all that sort of stuff. And I just got hooked on it, loved it. Made some great friends, still lifelong friends today.
Yeah, great. It sounds very similar to my upbringing around the cricket club back in Narracourt. So it was your parents that introduced you to the game. Did you have sort of childhood heroes that you looked up to in those magazines and things that you got?
Yeah. I remember that the first ever FA Cup final that I can remember was the 87 FA Cup final, which was Coventry versus Tottenham at the time. And Coventry, they won against the odds. And so that was it. I wanted to be a Coventry fan from that day on. I was, because they won. But the family were Manchester United fans all their life. And, I was told, no uncertain terms, no, you support Manchester United. And it's, but they're rubbish. Because they were back in 87, they were a rubbish team. And, but I was forced to follow. But Brian Robson, who a lot of people would have been before most people's time, he was my first hero and my proper soccer hero. We named a dog after him. That's how much I loved him.
Right.
He was England captain in the 80s and into the 90s. And he was Manchester United at the time. It was one of those ones where your team's shit, but as long as he's good, as long as we had him playing, we were a chance. So
Yep.
then, as time goes on, Eric Cantona, you probably would have heard of.
Yes.
You know, oh, I loved David Beckham as a player before all the Beckham mania and all that started. But the young David, and I loved watching him play. And actually tried to copy a lot of his stuff from the way he played, just like it struck a ball and stuff like that. I really did. David Beckham from '96 to 2000 and so was one of the best players in the world, regardless of all the celebrity. So I was drawn to him. Roy Keane later on, Paul Scholes. Yeah, all Manchester United based players, but yeah,
Yep.
that's who I would follow. I'd have them on the wall at some stage, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Before you get girls on there. So,
so where did your personal journey start with soccer then? Obviously brought up in it and playing in Whyalla. So tell us about Adrian Hart, the young tacker playing for Whyalla.
well, I started out obviously under 5, so that's the lowest grade you can play in Whyalla is under 8s, and then you go through from there. So at 5, I played a few years under 8s, and decided I wanted to be a goalkeeper when I was younger, and I think I think it was just so I could just jump around and do stuff and be an idiot in goals. And I played in goals for up until probably under 12s or so, something like that. I was all right at it. It wasn't too bad. But in Whyalla, our team had one of the best junior setups going around, and we were winning 7-8-0, 10-0 some weekends, and I'm standing in goals, getting cold and not getting the kick. So I decided I want to be an outfielder. Went out and played on the pitch. Played as basically as a sweeper, which is effectively, I don't know if the position. It's like a centre back slash, be the equivalent of maybe a fullback in Aussie rules sort of thing. You're the last line before the goalkeeper.
Yep.
Didn't have to be particularly quick. You didn't have to be particularly tall to play that position. It's almost like a free position. That suited me at that age.
Reading the play, I suppose, is it?
Huh?
More reading the play. You got
yeah, that's the big thing. Is if you read play, organise people in front of you and all that.
Yep.
And so I played that, played juniors all through, majority in that position. I play in the Whyalla team every year. We'd always, we're always successful in that side. We'd win the country championships every year. And I just kept progressing. You play a grade above or so, but look, I was thinking about it today that didn't really play an awful lot above my own grade. You hear a lot of people playing, they're under 14s and they're playing 18s and stuff like that. We had so many good players of our age group ahead and plenty of players that you often just stayed in your own lane and you developed with time. Eventually, got involved with training with the first team and the reserves, the seniors. You start with, you've got to stand behind the goals, and when they're shooting practice, you're not allowed to play. You've got to go get the balls for them and stuff. And then eventually you're allowed to have a kick with them. And then I think 1994 was my first season playing seniors, played in the reserve team that won the league. Didn't play much that year. I was only a 15-year-old boy. This is a man's league sort of thing. Even in Whyalla, it was. So I didn't get. It was probably the following season I started playing regularly, and then at 16 cracked it into the A grade and went from there, basically in Whyalla.
Right. So right through from juniors to senior football, you're in Whyalla. If you look back now, what's the league like there? Is it still there? Is it still strong?
It's rubbish now. It really is. It's the town itself sport in Whyalla has gone downhill massively, unfortunately, and that's to do with the population, really.
Yep.
Like back when I was playing, there were 6 teams in Whyalla, strong teams. You'd have an A grade and a B grade. Every club had that and had good juniors, most clubs. But there was also 6 Aussie rules teams in Whyalla that had A grade, B grade, 18s as well. So sport was big in Whyalla then. And we also had, in our league, when I was playing, we had 3 teams from Port Pirie that we were travelling to. You had Virtus, Savoy, Hellas. So we would travel there. Those were great days. You get in the bus, go play Port Pirie away, and then on the bus back, it was just party time. Really, those were great trips. And but the league was strong back then, and like 70s was the heyday of Whyalla. But even when I was playing in the 90s, even watching it in the 80s, it was still good standard. And there's a lot of players that I played against who Played in state league up in Adelaide, would come and play Premier League. A lot of very good players back then in Wyler. And, I was certainly was at no stretch of imagination a standout in that league. I wouldn't be in anyone's conversation of all-time, best 11 to ever come out of Wyler. But, I played with some good players and I held my own.
Held your own at the same time.
Yeah. Again, nothing spectacular, but it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And you can see while you're talking about it, it's obviously something that you enjoy going back and thinking about talking about. It's good. Did you have any sort of mentors along the way as an early? I mean, I assume your father might have been one, or your mother, or both. But did you have any sort of coaches and things that really stood out to you back in the day?
I had good coaches. I remember this guy, Ken Brody, but I was only 13 at the time. He was one that, as a junior, helped me a lot. But I would never say that I had a particular coach that was, I look back and say this guy took me on his week, made me what I am, sort of stuff. It was, I had there were people I looked up to more as teammates rather than as coaches as such. When I was playing, most of it, how to play the game, I learnt by basically watching TV and trying to mimic other players, or I'd watch certain players. I never had anyone that, like a Guardiola, who would try and change the way you play and tell you to stand, receive the ball this way. Never had any of that, really. It was always, oh, he did that, or you watch TV. And so, like I mentioned Beckham, for instance, the way I would strike a ball changed completely when he came on the scene, because I felt comfortable doing it and I could time a ball. So he was just my technique. I actually learned from him rather than any particular person saying to me. But then, there were teammates, and I remember one, I won't say his name, yes, anyway, but he was no great legend at where I was playing when I was younger and all that. Got to know him well. He got me on the beers early, so that was, and then I was trying to think that I was like him. He could go out till 4 a.m. and then go and play like a superstar. I can do that. Can't be that hard, 17, 18.
Yeah.
I wasn't as good as him at doing that, though.
As much as you tried, Adrian.
Yeah.
So from your junior days, any big highlights, any premierships, any major accolades, things like that? Or what's your best sort of team memories from those days?
The juniors all blended because we won every week, really. Right. So juniors blended in. It was, I never really won a trophy with Wanderers. Unfortunately, our team was a bit rubbish. It was crap for years. To give you an idea, you're in a 16 league, and while the Wanderers who I played didn't win the league for 50 years in a 16 league. So it gives you an idea how rubbish they were for a long time. We won the reserve league in the first season in '94, but I never won a league with them. Never won a cup, actually, because I left in when I was about 18 to move to Adelaide. So I didn't really, so the highlight of actually Wanderers was a game I never played in 2019 when they won the league.
Right.
For the first time. That was, flew back from Adelaide. A lot of my mates that live up here, we all got there, and it was just Friday night game. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, that was one of the best nights of the club ever. It was just
right, great.
I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Still, obviously, attached to it still, and good to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you moved to Adelaide at 18. Straight into soccer when you got here, or did you settle in for a bit first and get to know a few people, or how did that happen? Where did you find your club?
Played for a club called the Pines, which was a Saturday Division 2 Sunday League side. I knew 2 lads I played for at my soccer club, and they actually coached me. They were a few years older, and they were playing up here, so they'd arranged for me to go and play with them. And so they took me down. Great bunch of lads. Again, a British background. It was they were based out. They used to be a Salisbury team, and then they repackaged, and they were at the Pines. Where the hockey is near Jets Cross there, the Pines Oval. Playing out of there, and they it was great. First year I didn't settle in Adelaide at all. I didn't want to be here. I was a big fish in Wyler, so to speak, in my own mind, and moving away from my family, moving away up here, I hated it,
Right.
and in the end, I ended up driving back to Wyler every weekend. Um, doing uni up here, and then on the weekend driving back to up here play for Wanderers because I just couldn't
Yep.
stand being away from Wyler.
Right.
To give you an idea, like in Wyler at the time, growing up from like 14, 15, I used to have a radio show
Okay.
in Wyler where every Saturday morning, Sunday morning, I'd get up and I'd do the soccer show for it. And what it was back then is you'd give all the English Premier League scores and the Scottish Premier League scores, and then you'd give all the results for the whole thing. So that I'd have to sit up at till 3 in the morning with a radio, listen to the BBC World Service, and write down all the scorers and all that sort of stuff, and then
Wow.
go on the radio. And then I took over writing the soccer reports in the local newspaper when I was around about 15 or so until I left. So, and this time again, I'm saying this was pre-internet when I was doing the radio, so it wasn't like you could get up in the morning, check your phone, or even go on the computer and get the scores. It was you had to listen to the radio.
If you missed it,
So
you had
people knew
nothing.
I was in Wyler, and I got the nickname Lois from in Wyler, and people in Wyler still call me that. I'm still known as that because can't be Clark Kent, can I? I'm never be Lois Lane.
Right. Okay. I was going to ask what that means, but yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
But so I knew a lot of people around the soccer. I knew everyone, and then coming to Adelaide, I just hated it. I was a mess.
Right.
Didn't want to be here, and didn't know what to do. Really had to come and live in Adelaide. Couldn't do uni in Wyler. Had to live here. Had to suck it up, and I did the second year. That first year, I just wasn't ready to come. And
What do you think changed in that year?
yeah, no, in I guess it was a case of me. If I grew up, did I or not? I know it was difficult going back every week, and really, I wasn't. I was going for myself. I wasn't doing anyone any favours. Like,
Right.
I wasn't playing well. I was going home getting drunk with my mates every weekend, playing on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on when the game was. It was selfish what I was doing, really. But maybe I wasn't growing up enough. Single child, I don't know. Does that make any difference, in your life? But I just didn't want to be away from home with my mates.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, but then I thought, I don't know whether I had a conversation with the family or not, or anyone in particular just said, because sometimes I don't know if you talk to a friend or even someone that, a bit older or, that you respect, and then they just say, pull your head in, son, because you don't listen to, those sometimes your parents close to you. It might have been someone else that just said, come on, you're a grown up, go and do, guys. And I loved it again. Once I went out every week playing soccer with the boys at the Pines and basically soccer, you're starting to get the picture here, is that it's been, the one constant in my life. No matter where I am, it's what my life's revolved around for the best part of 30 years.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my later questions, but let's do it now. What would life do you think? What would you be like if soccer wasn't in it?
I don't know. I
Especially
generally don't.
considering that you didn't go to the AFL, you weren't drawn to AFL, you weren't drawn to cricket or basketball or any other sport.
I love my cricket. I played cricket juniors, but I never played.
Okay.
I played, for the Wyler teams, and I played. I think we had a reserve team, our club. That when you're 15, I was still playing there, and
Right.
I still love my cricket to today,
Yep.
but I never played it as a senior.
Right.
I don't know what it was about cricket, in particular the playing of it. I wasn't particularly good batsman. I wasn't particularly good. I was a decent bowler, spin bowler before warning was around, before it was fashionable.
Before it was cool.
And, well, that's going to be debated, isn't it? I don't know. It's just the playing of it never really appealed to me as much as watching it. I can sit there and watch a test all day, and I love it, and I'll analyse it, so this and that. But I think the long day sitting there just in the sun, I'm a ginger. I don't like the sun at the best of times. So, no. So I don't know what would have become of me if it wasn't for soccer. To be honest with you, because I honestly say that my best friends in the world are people I've met through playing soccer. My best friends, some people I've got a lot of friends still, and excellent friends from school that I still know and I'm very good friends with.
Yep.
But I found myself even when I was older, such older as a teenager, getting to adult, 17, 18 and all that, that I was drawn more to my soccer team mates who were older than me. All of them were older than me by 3 or so years,
Right.
rather than going out with my schoolmates. So I don't know how I'd like to think what if I'd have any friends really if I didn't have a soccer team. I don't know. Yes.
It's kind of universal with people who have played sport that I'm finding as I do this podcast. I'm finding that a lot of people find that really hard to answer because it's not really fathomable to actually live a life without having sport involved.
I wasn't going to go and join a choir or anything like that, was I? Even though my mum tried to push me into a choir because that's where you meet girls and all that sort of stuff. That's another nightmare for another day. But you're right. I remember I've got a friend of mine who said to me he was a school teacher and went down to places like down Eyre Peninsula, and he said to me before I had this conversation that when you join a new town, for instance, join the join the local footy club, join the local cricket club. If you're he was a school teacher, let you go in and become part of the community. But it's right, especially country towns. I considered Wyld a country town when I lived there. It had 25,000. It was 25,000 people at the time, but it was still a country town. And I think sport is, what everyone gravitates to in towns like that. It's a big part of your life, really.
Yeah. And lifelong friends obviously have been a key or a constant in this podcast too. Is that people are still connected and always will be to their junior teammates, their teenage, even adult teammates that share the shared experiences is what keeps everybody together and reunions and things like that. And everybody's been saying that the lifelong friends that you make through sport are just that little bit more special, I guess.
It is, yeah. And I'm sure you're the same with your cricket mates that, you haven't seen them for 10 years, but you talk about that one game where, you might have taken a hat trick or scored 100 or something like that, or I've scored a goal here or there, and, they've gone and done something. We beat, it's just basic reminiscing, isn't it? You don't talk to your schoolmates about that test that you took, do you?
No, you're right. So, scoring goals. Let's have a chat about the goal.
Oh, yeah.
So, you've now, from what I recall of what you sent to me earlier, it was 2005.
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah.
And what position are you playing in this game?
I was playing centre midfield in that game. It was a cup game. Remember the name of the team we were playing? So when we were playing in the collegiate league, it was a Saturday league for Adelaide Uni Blue Wanderers at the time, and all I remember is that the opposition side had two players that we had to be careful with, who had played for Adelaide City back in the day, and very handy players. And I learned that firsthand playing against them in the midfield. We should have beaten them. That's one thing that really annoys me even to this day, 20 years later, is we didn't beat them. We were cruising at 2-0 up. They got back to, I think they ended up getting 3-2 up. One of the guys that played for Adelaide City scored a belter of a free kick. Put it in the top corner. One of the best free kicks I've seen for a long time. Oh, God. So I was in the mood that we'd let a two-goal lead slip. And we've gone back to the halfway line, and one of the guys was doing a kickoff.
I'll just stop you there. I'll stop you there because we'll have a look at it. All right, so talk me through how this transpired now. You're in the midfield. You've gone, what did you say? You've gone 2-2, is it now? Or
no, that's actually put them in front 3-2.
3-2, right.
We'd let a 2-0 lead slip and they've gone 3-2. We just scored that free kick. They just scored a free kick, 3-2 up. And I was having a sook. And I remember the kickoff, one of the guys that was taking the kickoff, he just said to me, as it was saying, the keeper's off his line, is all I heard. And he goes, he's off. And that's all he said. And I think I was angry enough that I just wanted to smash the ball anyway.
Yep.
So, but I was shooting. There's no doubt I was shooting. And, I'd try that regularly. But never got it close, really. And I've hit this one, and I've looked at it. Well, that's a chance actually, because it felt like it was missing a bit, and I'm trying to blow it in from where I'm standing, and it's flying in the top corner. You couldn't believe it, and just caught it beautifully. It was one of the most clean balls I've hit. You know, it was just off of one step, bang, and yeah, didn't get put out too much in the end. I did it because we ended up losing 5-4 in the end. That got us back to 3-3,
right.
and we lost 5-4 in the end. So, but
How
it
good
wasn't
was
until
somebody had a
afterwards
camera
that,
though?
oh well, that was the team I was playing with at the time. They listen, some of them were a little bit excitable. The fans on the side, and they filmed all of our games. But it's actually a DVD of our whole season.
Okay, cool.
And but they showed it to me that night. I think afterwards, someone got it on his camera, and we were all in the pub afterwards, even though win or lose on the booze sort of thing. And and as the minute they showed me that, my head just went. Someone and then a friend from Wyler put it on YouTube. I had nothing to do with that. And but if it's got 1,000 views, I guarantee you 900 of them are mine. Just you meet a random person in the pub or something like that. Have you seen my goal? Here we go. Come on, let's watch it again.
I must admit I've watched it a few times. It's an absolute cracker. Right in the top corner. It could not have snuck under the bar nicely enough.
Yeah, no, it was postage stamp, definitely. And the goalkeeper probably helped me out a little bit. Didn't really do too much jumping, did he?
Don't worry about that bit.
Yeah, no goalkeeper in the world would have saved it. That's what I'm saying.
So when, like you've hit this ball and you've struck it pretty well. Yeah. At what stage did you go, actually, this is a chance, this is going in?
It wasn't, like when I looked at it, I thought, this is close. But it was going to the right of the goal as I was looking at it. It felt like it was missing it. But then it started coming a little bit back whether it was on the wind or what. And I thought, this is close. This is close. And then it went in and I just turned to run. I said, hug me to the people. Just did a little jump in the air. I didn't know what to do. It was
yeah.
But there was a period of time when I could strike a ball like that easily, regularly. I'll do it at training. We would actually regularly have it at training. Crossbar challenge where you would stand put the ball in the centre circle on the halfway line, and you had to hit the crossbar, from halfway on the full. And that was a challenge. And I could do it quite easily, or I'd clear the crossbar. So I had very good timing of the ball. I could strike it. And that's that Beckham thing where I watched his technique and learned how to strike through the ball. And luckily, timing, I don't know if you can teach timing, can you really? Or not? You either got it or...
Yeah, I think it's generally one of those things that come naturally. As much as you can practice it, it's either something you sort of have or don't really. But what just talk to me if you can about what's actually changed. Like you mentioned, you've sort of copied David Beckham's technique in striking the ball. What were you doing before, and from watching him, what changed?
Well, for instance, he strikes a ball two ways. One on the top of your foot, which is it's not your instep, it's just the top of your foot, and he strikes through a ball cleanly. And I think the way you shape your body and use your hips and strike through it, that was watching him do that. I changed my technique. Again, I had some people I could try and teach me how to kick as a kid. I couldn't kick the ball particularly far as a junior. I wasn't wasn't one of the big kids. Yep. I've always been standard size for a player. I was never bigger than anyone in my thing. So it was only then that by watching that, and then he also hits the ball with his instep, which is like a curling sort of thing. If you watch the bend it like Beckham nonsense, and I started doing that as well. And I remember an old teammate, probably one of the first people in Wyler that was actually striking a ball like that as well. And a lot of people do it now, but again, that was just watching it and self-taught how to strike a ball. And so probably without consciously changing my whole body shape and angle when striking a ball, I think I was trying to mimic how he did and found that it actually worked and I could time it. And then I kept doing it. I'd hit passes all over the pass, across the field. Yep. That game, I hit another one from just about 10 yards closer to the goal and smashed against the crossbar. Again, shoot from 40 yards because I could just...
Because you could.
That was late on. It could have been a hero, but wasn't. So.
could have evened it up again. So that's obviously a pretty big highlight to have, especially something that goes around on YouTube and it's had a lot of views. Have you done anything? Is there anything else that sticks out in your mind in your playing days that tops that or is equal to that?
It would have been nice to win some trophies, really, at the end of the day, though. Let's not get carried on. You know, I remember there's people still in Wyler talk about a couple of free kicks I scored from way out, hit the crossbar.
Yep.
You know, they come up every now and then.
Yep.
But there's small highlights, really. You know, I don't have a Messi highlight reel or a Ronaldo highlight reel or anything like that, or even some of the legends that I played with in Wyler. You know, your Jacksons and all these players that people would know if they, you know, watching this and following Wyler soccer. That, you know, they know Thomas Jackson. He would do something remarkable every week. I have about 3 or 4 highlights that I milk every time I speak to someone. You know, remember this, remember that. But it would have been nice. I didn't really win any trophies in my whole career. That was a big problem. You know, we won the league actually when I was playing. Sorry, I did win a trophy. I won the league, didn't I? Forgot about that. Yeah. But I would have liked to win some more trophies. That would have been highlights for me to say. You hear of cricketers, you hear Aussie rules players talk about premierships and all that sort of stuff. I think that's more important than scoring a goal from halfway and being on YouTube, isn't it?
Premierships, yeah, I'd take premierships all the time. I'd reckon, yeah. But obviously, you've won the league before, so that's something. Do you have catch ups or reunions and things for that, or?
No, that was because what happened after that was season 2005. That was what was the collegiate league in Adelaide, which is a lot of universities and schools. And then we went and left and joined the amateur league, Saturday league. I've just come from the Sunday league. We went and joined the Saturday league as our club.
Yep.
So we had to start in Division 2. That was the agreement. And we won that the first year, both teams undefeated. You win some, you draw some, and all that sort of stuff. Teach. Then 2008, we won the league, and you know, that was probably the best team I ever played in. You know, we had some proper players. You know, guy Mark Brazzali, who people might know, played for National League for West Adelaide in the 80s and 90s, not in the 90s probably. Played for Australia, and I think he went to the Olympics. I'm not sure, but he played for Australia. You know, there's Jamie Perrin, whose dad is a Adelaide City legend. He played for Adelaide City. You had Barbaro boys who played National League, Joe Barbaro, and they were playing with us. You know, so they were coming towards the end of their career, obviously. You know, they weren't playing amateurs at this stage, but they were still playing good players, and that was the best team I ever played in.
Right.
We don't have reunions. They do their own thing. You know, we don't get together for that. I don't expect we would do it again for the 2028, I would imagine.
Right. So, after you've mentioned that you were coaching for a while, tell me about your coaching days. When did that start?
I basically finished playing around about 2011. My body just gave up on me. I just couldn't run anymore. I hadn't looked after myself. I've never been a naturally fit person. You know, funny that my dad could run like the wind, but he was, you know, fit as a fiddle when he was younger and everything. But I don't know. I'll blame Mum. Maybe I've got her genes. I don't know, sort of thing. And I like to be here too much and inherently lazy. So I was never, and that's a big regret. You know, just ask if you want about my playing that I never got myself properly fit. So my body gave up on me when it was 2011.
Right.
What would I have been? 32 at the time, 33, you know. And our soccer club at the time, I was just going to watch really. And we had a B grade coach at the time, and he quit after about 4 games.
Right.
And they said, "Do you want to take over?" Yeah, okay. And we had a decent enough season. You know, we had the whole season became a cup run. You know, our league form wasn't brilliant, but it became a cup run because there's the amateur cup where every amateur team in South Australia plays. It's like the FA Cup in England, but you've got your Sunday leagues and your Saturday leagues all can get drawn against each other. You know, we got the semi-final, played at High Marsh, which was exciting enough for the boys, the players. You know, I was strung around on the sideline thinking I was, you know, Alex Ferguson or something like that. But we lost 4-3 in that game, and how we lost that, I still have nightmares about it. I really do.
Right.
And you know, it comes up in conversations with mates of mine. Well, you didn't pick me. You should have picked me. Oh, this is, you know, this is 15 years later. We're still arguing over it.
So is there a different side to soccer as a coach than a player? Do you see more? Do you learn more? Do you have to think differently?
You do very much so, and it's something actually I enjoy. I find myself when I'm watching a game, and it might annoy people when I'm watching it with them, but I'm almost commentating the game in my own head, saying, "No, you should be running there. You should be doing this." And I like watching the game and the tactical side of it. I
Yep.
found that was something that I understood and was good at. And again, that could have been from, I was saying before that I thought I taught myself how to play the game rather than,
Yeah.
a particular coach who I'd copy. So
Yeah.
I've got my own ideas on how it should be played, and I enjoyed, I was watching the World Cup on Saturday, and I'm thinking, you run here, right here. I'm telling the Socceroos where to run because
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I did enjoy it. I was a bit disappointed. I wanted the A grade job the next year. It was vacant. They went a different way, and I was never interested in going to another club to make a career, if you want to call it an amateur career, out of coaching.
Yeah.
It was if someone come to me and said do this and that, but why would they come to you if they don't know you really? So, and I wasn't one. I don't like going out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to soccer. I'm very loyal in a lot of ways in my life. Full stop.
Yeah.
I've only really had two proper jobs where I've worked with companies for 20 odd years and then gone to another one. I only had three soccer clubs in my life.
Yeah.
Wyler Wanderers, who I played from 5 to when I was almost 20, and I only left them because I left Wyler to live in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Pines, I wouldn't have left them until they folded. And then Adelaide Wanderers I played with, and I only left them because I couldn't play anymore and they didn't want me to coach. So, I wasn't, you hit some players, and I've played with a lot of them, who have played with 10, 15 clubs. Couldn't do that.
Yeah. Why do you think that is, Adrian? As far as the loyalty goes, what is that really sticks out to you?
It might be loyalty. It might be loyalty, but it also might just be complacency in a way. It's easier just to you're there, you've made your friends. I don't like.
Familiar.
Yeah, it could be fear of the unknown as well. Really.
Right. Yep.
I thought about this when you said come and have a chat to you, because I know that you go into certain areas of thinking about sport and all that sort of stuff, and
Yep.
I wonder if fear does play a part in it. And I also think I've alluded a few times that I drink beer too much, and wonder whether that was maybe fear that maybe I wasn't good enough, and if I went out and had a beer with everyone, and everyone that, then I had a ready-made excuse if I didn't play well the next day. Oh, I'm hungover. I'll be better next week. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking crap here, but I did give that some thought.
Well, it's very human, though, isn't it? That's the thing. We're all human, and we have our faults and our things that we sort of lean on.
I get comfortable, and it's my environment. And if I'm comfortable in it, I don't like to rock the boat. People that know me will say, "Oh, yeah, you carry on. You've got opinions and all that," but I don't really like upsetting people, going anywhere else, and and then I'm sure wouldn't feel comfortable walking into a new club, not knowing anyone and starting from scratch.
Yeah,
it's not me. I'm not one of these ones. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why I just stayed where I was all the time.
And you've also got, I guess, a bit of a certain level of acceptance where you already are. So
yeah,
no need to move it.
Acceptance,
right. As humans, we're always sort of looking for acceptance on some level. So yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for opening up like that. Sorry?
No, it's not right. It's a routine as well, isn't it? You know what you're getting. So, and it's maybe it's the fear of unknown. I don't know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So with your experience in playing and coaching, what do you think makes a great football team?
Nick, you've got to have different players to start with. You can't all be. Look, I remember someone once said, and I can't remember who it was, but to be a soccer player in particular, you've got to be able to do three things, and you can have a decent. Can you control the ball? Yes, I can. Can you pass the ball? Yes, I can. Can you run? Yeah. Then you're a chance. Really, you don't have to do all the messy stuff and all that. You can still be a solid player. Can you run? Can you tackle? yeah, if you do all those things, then, and I watching games, and again, I think this comes back to frustration I have in myself because I was never fit and didn't like running, and I was standing in the middle of the pitch doing basic running, but I'd rely on my ability to pass the ball to get me through a game rather
Yep.
than run. And so now when I watch players that don't run or teams that won't run, it drives me mad. It absolutely. I think that one of the biggest things is you've got to run, especially when you're playing at a decent level. You've got to be willing to run. That's the big thing. I watch it in Aussie rules sometimes. I've been to Adelaide when you watch players, you think you're hiding here. You've got to run. You've got to run. And I and it was saying that we always had at our club was that because we were a decent side a lot of the time, it was along the lines of match their work rate and your ability will kick in and you'll win.
Yeah.
And that's stuck with me. As long as you work as hard as your opposition, no matter how you could be Division 1, they could be Division 5, but if you don't match their intensity and their work rate, you can come proper. So you match. It's a non-negotiable. You match their work rate, your ability kicks in, you win games. That's how I think any side should play.
Pretty good set of rules to start with, and the mindset from that is going to the belief's going to kick in when you're out there doing it, isn't it? So yeah, good way to start a game. So what is that? What you would say also separates good players from standard players? Is that sort of mindset where no one's going to outwork them and their skills will kick in, and their belief in themselves will kick in? Is that sort of go hand in hand, do you think, with separating good and great players?
Yeah, I do, because I've seen good players who were lazy and thought they could just get by on their talent alone. And if we're talking, the highest level here, we're talking Premier League, there are a lot of players that have been found out and get spit out early because they're posers. They think, oh, look at me, I've got all the skills in the world, but I'm not willing to do the hard work. And I've played against players, and I know a lot of them still that had half the ability that I had, but were far more successful, played at a higher level because they did the work, they ran, they did everything they had to do. They didn't have the skill set, but they had the basics and they run. And again, keep coming back to you do the work, you get your rewards.
Yeah, true, absolutely. So do you think there's a lot of, again, I'll just sort of go back to the coaching mindset here. Do you think there's a lot of players that don't handle the pressure as well as others? Like obviously they might start with the full belief and the full mantra that you've spoken about just before in a game, but they go make a mistake and then their whole game comes crashing down. Do you see that? Does that happen as much as I think it does, or?
Yeah. What are we talking about in particular? Are we talking in general, like highest level? Or are we talking about people I know from my own personal experience?
In general, have you seen that happen before? Have you seen it happen on big stages?
Yeah, and of course you see that, and I'd carry on when I was playing on the pitch. Someone gives a ball away, what the F you doing, and all that sort of stuff. Learn how to pass. But then you say it to certain people, and you know that you can't say that to them because they're going to cry. And whereas others, I'll show you, sort of thing. That mentality does exist, I think.
Yeah.
When you look at the best coaches in sport anywhere, they're the best managers. I think. I think you can get further as a manager by man management skills than you can by, say, tactical brilliance. I think your people, they'll run through a brick wall for you. Whereas you can sit there all day and talk all the great tactics, reinvent the game. But if you don't have them believing in you, you're not going to get anywhere, are you?
Yeah, totally agree. And I'll use there's an Aussie rules example that comes to mind for me straight away is Craig McRae, the coach of Collingwood. Now, if you don't like Collingwood, you're generally meant to hate them. But the way he coaches and the way that his players speak about him makes you want to get inside and figure out for me it does anyway. It makes me want to get inside and figure out what's going on there because he's obviously got a way of getting every player up and ready and has a great relationship with all types of different individuals there. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Watching a lot of soccer all my life, and particularly Manchester United, I was always fascinated by Alex Ferguson and how he went about it. And you listen to a lot of his players who have gone into the media and they've got their own podcasts now, and a lot of them will talk about the psychology of the man, of
Yeah.
how he went about it. And he could be ruthless on you, but they reckon it was just the humanity of him. Basic things like they say, he was running the biggest club in the world at the time. Yet he knew that the tea ladies, the secretary, he'd always know their children's names. He knew all the players, and he would, there was talk, I'm going to leave you out from this, for the next game, but I need you in 3 weeks' time. We're playing Liverpool. That's, and that's his way of, he's dropping you, but he's actually turning it into, you're going to be, I need you for this game. So you think, I'm up. And it's you hear stories like that, you think, yeah, that's clever man management.
Yeah, and the use of language there is key too, isn't it? It's not just dropping somebody and going, okay, now let's deal with what I've got in front of me. It's we need you still when you're on board and you're going to be here for this reason.
Yeah, you're playing this game. It might be 3 weeks from now, but you're playing. I need you. And the player goes, as it got on, and when he did it 10 times, they got the hint, no, it's just dropping me. But But I just like that sort of mentality, the way, and his team talks were all about, I think it was a European Cup final, they said, and his whole team talk was talking about the players' families, talking about where your father came from, your mother came from. It's the biggest game of their life, biggest game of his life. And he's talking about the players' families, and this is where you've come from, and rather than getting them all worked up with tactics, he's, oh yeah, I'm going to do this for my family and stuff like that. So he knew his times, and it's a fascinating read. Some of the books I've read about him.
Yeah, it's keeps me into sport. That's for sure. The whole mental side of things. But anyway, I enjoy it. And let's talk about the World Cup now that it's on, because I enjoy watching that. Who have you got? I mean, obviously, I think you'd be a Socceroos man, but realistically, who do you think's going to win?
I am very much a Socceroos man, and I was telling anyone that would listen on Sunday that Australia are going to win the World Cup. So stand by that. They might, but I don't know. It was before the tournament. I thought maybe Spain, but I wasn't sure how good they were. But I still think they drew with Cape Verde, but I still think they're probably the best side in the world at the moment. France, a very good side. But they didn't have a great Euro 2024, and that always makes me wonder, and I don't think he's changed the team massively. The World Cup finalists, the World Cup winners in 18, finalists in 22. I just wonder, a lot of those players played in all those games. I just wonder, is that team coming to its end at the moment? Argentina, I'm not convinced that they're any good, even though they are the world champions. And Messi had his little day out today, but let's not carry it away. It was Algeria. So I'm not sure. I think Japan are a good side. Actually, watching them the other day. I think. I don't think Norway. Norway came in with. I think it's going to be out of those. I don't think Brazil are any good after watching them on Sunday against Morocco. Morocco were quite good, I thought. But I don't know at this stage. If I had to put money on something, I'd say Spain right now. I think they come from a climate. It's hot in America at the moment.
The
way they play, they like to ticky-taka, pass the ball around. They don't exert as much energy as others. And I think they could handle the heat quite well. And the way they play, I think, could handle the heat. So I'm going to go with them. England aren't a bad side either, but I'll be interested to see how they play their first game, because time of this recording, I haven't seen them play yet. So I think they're a good side as well.
Yes, no, I agree. And I actually agree. I share that.
But anyway.
I had Spain as the eventual winners. Actually went and did a whole score prediction, 2-1 over France. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, how close
Spain
they
did. I did one of them as well, and I came back with a France-Argentina refund. I thought, no, that's not right. I'm trying to change. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how I got there. But you were just talking about coaching. Sorry to take over your show here.
No, go for it.
But you're talking about coaching and the impact they can have on a team. The Australia game against Turkey the other day is a perfect example of, the coach has got to get an awful lot of credit for what happened in that game.
Absolutely.
He's picked the right side. He's made some big calls. He's played the goalkeeper, who I hadn't really heard of, to be honest with you. I didn't realise he played in the A League for Melbourne City. I didn't know who he was. He had, he had a great day for 22 years old. The boy Irakunda, he scored the first goal. It was thought that he can't play with the Moture up front. They would only be one or the other. He's made a big call there. He's made a big call with Ocon in the midfield and another centre back. So he's picked a bold side, but he's obviously seen something in them. He's given these boys, they're all 20, 22, they're kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know any better, do they? They don't have fear. So maybe it was, but I think he's got to get some respect for what he did in picking that side and getting that side up, because he's picked his tactics spot on, defend like hell. We've got quick people on the break, get the balls in behind, let them run, let their skill kick in, and then we just keep running and working and working. Oh, it was a brilliant performance.
I totally agree, man. I think Popovich has done a fantastic job there, and hopefully they carry that on against the USA Saturday morning.
Yes, very much so. That would be it'd be nice to beat them, wouldn't it?
Especially after all the words that they've put out in the media.
Yeah, well, again, though, that's media, isn't it, for you? That's the players aren't saying that out loud. It's
just one
the
bloke.
media. And do we expect anything different from the Americans and a bit of bombast here and there from them?
No, you probably wonder where it was if it wasn't there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you think, come on, they're not a shy race, are they?
No, that's for sure. So you've got Spain winning eventually?
I think so. Yeah, look, it's hard to say after one game everyone's played, but you got to remember, Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia the last World Cup in their first game and won the World Cup. This World Cup as well, because it's a bloated 48-team tournament. The jeopardy's not there that was when it was a 32-team tournament.
Yeah.
Because it was only the top two from the group would go through, and you lose your first game. There's no margin for error. So you can't lose two games and stay in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Now you can. You win one game, you're in. Because 8 of the 12 teams go through.
Yeah.
So realistically, Australia was through the next round. You don't want them thinking that. And it would take something. But basically, 2-0 win. They're probably through.
Yeah.
After one performance, they could get battered the next 2 games. Yet they'll probably still get through. So I don't necessarily like that bit. But the thing is that any team that doesn't start well, like the big guns, my point is that the big guns can start slowly and work their way into this tournament. Whereas in the past, you had to sort of hit the ground running. You can start relatively, not be brilliant in your performance, but you had to win. Now the big guns can start slowly. So I don't think we'll get a better idea of really how teams are going to go until start of July, I think, once this group stage is finished.
Fair call. All right, that's enough about the World Cup. Let's get on to the simple questions, which everyone has trouble with. I suspect you may not. Your all-time favourite sporting person? Who would it be? All-time.
What, really?
If you can. I prefer that way, but if you can't split them.
All right. Hero was Brian Robson growing up, and I still think he's one of the best soccer players I've ever seen. He's my hero. So, he's... Look, Messi, Ronaldo, Maradona, all probably better players than him, but Brian Robson was my hero, and, he was still one of the best. If he was playing now, he would be worth 100 million, easily, 150 million. So I'll go him. Other sports, I like Mike Tyson. Tiger Woods is one of the best I've ever seen. But you wanted it to be quick, so I'll be quiet.
No, because I was going to follow up on that and ask what it is about Robson, because obviously there's a plethora of other talented soccer players from that era that you could have chosen. Why him? What was it about him that sort of...
He was called Captain Marvel because he could do everything. He was like the engine of the side. He was the driving force. He could defend. He'd win tackles. He was fearless. He could header the ball, and then he would just run and score goals. But he could pass. He did everything. He was one of those ones that was all over the pitch, and he was probably everything that I wasn't. So that's why I probably like him, because I wish I could have been like him, sort of thing. It's I get drawn to players who are nothing like the way I play, because I wish I could do that. I wish I'd done. I admire the players that can do everything, and You know, Brian Robson, Roy King was another player I thought was extremely good. Those type of all-action combative, you know, players are the ones I like. I was drawn more to Mark Prosciutto than I was to Andrew McLeod because of, you know, his crash and bash versus McLeod's silky skills. But I could admire the skills of a McLeod, for instance. Whereas I know Ronaldo and Messi are the two best that I've ever seen, and Maradona. I never saw Pele. These players are in a stratosphere that Brian Robson's not. But for me, I love Brian Robson.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
When you get a chance, YouTube him and you'll know what I'm talking about.
I'll have a look. I'll have a look. I do remember the name, but I can't say I recall ever watching any game that he was in. But I'll have a look.
He finished in '94. His career finished in '94, so he was good.
Yeah.
You know, late '80s, early '90s. Just when I was starting to learn about the game and follow it. And,
I'll check him out.
Yeah.
So from there, then anywhere, anytime, worldwide, your favourite sporting moment. Team success, personal success, Olympics, football.
My greatest sport has to be the treble. Has to be the 1999 when United won the treble, European Cup final. 24th of May, was it, I believe, 1999. That was a treble. That was still the greatest thing I've ever seen. I was watching it here in Adelaide, you know, on SBS at 6 in the morning or something like that. And I recall my mum was down staying in Adelaide because she was on a course for work, and she wanted to go up and watch it, but she hadn't watched any of the games previously, so I banned her from getting up and watching the game. And United were 1-0 down. You know, the treble is you win the league, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. I'm sure you already realise what the treble is.
Yes.
And after this, you know, it's never been done before. They're down in the 90th minute. They're 1-0 down, and they scored 2 goals in the last 3 minutes to win the trophy. Oh, I went mental. You know, after started screaming. She's coming in. What's wrong? What's wrong? Who's breaking in there? They just scored. Go get your quilt. You can watch the rest of the game. Sit down, and they score again. Right, you're definitely good. But nothing will beat that in my life. Just watching that and that 10 days that came together. But from a personal standpoint, I was at the FA Cup final in England 2 years ago, and that's the greatest sporting event I've seen live.
Right.
You know, just the same been in an FA Cup final. United beat Manchester City. You know, you grew up watching the FA Cup final all your life, and to actually go to Wembley and watch it, that's the best experience I've had of a sporting event live. If I'm not counting watching it on TV, you know.
Yeah. No, that would be something to behold. That would be a spectacle. Absolutely.
The Australia 2005, the Aloisi penalty, that's got to be up there as a great moment. You know, I remember that. That
comes up a lot.
That was emotional.
Yeah.
And then beating. And the World Cup that followed it, that was emotional as well. I love, you know, beating Japan, you know, I still say we beat Croatia. It was a 2-2 draw, but we scored at the end and wasn't given. But watching that, you know, that was a brilliant time as well, sporting event wise. You know.
Yeah. I think that Croatia game, wasn't there controversy about a bloke that got 2 yellow cards but wasn't sent off?
Yeah. And he was actually an Australian who had actually grew up in Australia, Croatian parents, decided he wanted to play for Croatia.
Yeah.
And managed to get but he ended up getting sent off in the end. He got his third one late on in the game. So they got him in the end, but it took 3 cards to get him off.
we got there eventually. Yeah. So, okay. Appreciate those responses. That's great. What, if anything, and I'll finish up on this, is there anything that you'd go back and tell your younger self as you are now?
Yeah, I would. Take your sport more seriously, look after yourself more, and don't be so bloody lazy. And that's not just sporting life, you know. It's my biggest regret in life is that I took the easy way out all the time and would either go out drinking or not train properly and just, you know, and never got myself properly fit. You know, when you're 17, you know, you're naturally fit. I would say to my younger self, use that natural fitness and work on it properly and give yourself a chance, because it's a regret that I didn't give myself a chance to play, you know, a state league or a Premier League or even try, you know, because I was never conditioned enough. I think I could have done it. I think I had the skill set, the basics to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't look after my body properly. And I also think that laziness has been my biggest killer in my life, even professionally, like work-wise. I messed around at uni for a long time before I even got into, my professional life. And maybe if I had a woman in my life, earlier in my life, then that could control me, I might have been all right.
Right.
But, it sounds silly, but I think I needed controlling. Really, get off your ass, go and do something.
Again, it sounds just very human, and I appreciate your honesty. It's funny how life sort of traits can cross over into the sport field and vice versa, though, too, isn't it? Do you have sort of things that have come into your life through soccer?
Sorry, what sense does that cut into my life?
So, like lessons that you've learnt through playing soccer that you've used in everyday life, or used, in your home life, or anything like that?
Yes, very much so. I think I've learnt humility a lot in the thing. Don't get carried away with a lot, because you're only as, the old cliche, you're only as good as your last game, sort of thing. And don't get excited by small wins, because you've got to move on and get the next one. It's all right. You did that. Well done. Brilliant. Is that it? Sort of thing. And I do use that it doesn't always, don't stick to it as a mantra, because again, I'll, not always, I don't have that drive that some people have that, all right, I've won this. What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? That unrelenting drive to keep being successful. I don't necessarily have that, but I try and tell myself that regularly. And don't get carried away with yourself. It's a big one, And I like to think, if anyone talks to me at the pub about my soccer, I'm extremely humble about it. I don't talk it up, I talk my goal up, but that's more jokey than anything else.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm not comfortable being a big headed, or talking about myself at all. And I think that's just from playing the game, because you're going to get kicked the next week and they'll kick it out of you if you're a big, and that's basically something that maybe it's come from that, maybe it's just my upbringing, but I think that's come from the game itself. Is don't get too high and don't get too low as well.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that I've come to realise is very beneficial in sport, is to stay as level as possible. If you react emotionally all the time, then you're going to get a bit unreliable. You're going to not be the easiest person to play with.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep things in check and respond rather than react, don't you? So that's
great. And professionally as well. And I remember someone once said to me, and the two best words you can say to anyone in life are "well done."
Yeah.
It can just that simple. Well done. You don't need to go, "Oh, that was absolutely brilliant," and blow smoke and all that sort of stuff. And just the two words, "well done." And I'll use that at work to younger colleagues who they're learning the job, trying to get through it, and all that. Just a simple "well done" to someone, it can mean the world, and it's just that easy to say, isn't it?
Brilliant.
You're not building them up. You're not going overboard saying the world's greatest or anything. But you just say to them, "Well done." And I think that I was taught that, and that keeps you. That's a good thing to take away into your professional life as well, I think.
It's a simple, genuine thing. Goes a long way.
Yeah.
What a way to finish. I like that. We'll finish it there, Adrian. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed it. I didn't know how this was going to go. I enjoyed actually having a bit of a chat like this. Was very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there, and I'll post this up soon. And if you want to tag your old club and your old teammates or anything like that, feel free. But once again, thanks for being here.
Mother's already told me to send me the link, so she's all over it. So.
Fantastic, mate. Thank you.
Mate. Thanks, mate. Good on you.
Many thanks to Adrian for sharing his story. What started with one incredible goal, and a highlight of that became so much more than just one moment. It became a conversation about football and life, and Adrian shared his stories from playing to coaching, with some honest reflections on leadership and relationships and what sport can teach us about ourselves. Because while the moments are often memorable, more so it's the lessons, the people and the connections that leave the greatest impact. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share it with someone who loves sport and the stories behind it. This has been The Local Legends. I'm Mark Collins. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.